Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And we are still not officially in the TNA era yet, even though everybody keeps saying that we're back, we're effing back, all this stuff that people keep saying, but we're still not there yet. We're not quite there yet. There's one interesting change so far, but we'll get to that. But anyway, it's Your Impact Attack, regardless of what they call their company. And we're here to bring that to you. And who are we? Well, I am Jamie Williams, and with me, as always, tag team partner Brandon. Tagging Brandon in. What's going on?
Not much, man. Impact continuing to not give us much. They gave us more than they gave us last week, but what they happened to give us this week was basically a house show.
It was a house show and a studio show and a little bit of everything. But they also gave us a pay-per-view, which no one asked for. But here it is. Here's this. Here's this pay-per-view. And we'll talk about all of that. And we'll talk to you. And who are you? You are the C in the VBC. You are the chat. And we must acknowledge you ahead of everything. So who are we acknowledging tonight, Brandon?
All right, let's see. Looks like Chris Winland was in here earlier. We got Media M5, Lab Rat, Retro Rocket Review, Jerome Hall, Lizbeth. What is up? Hope you're all having a great night. Whoop, whoop.
Hey, I love all those people. So let's dive into that. Chris, as usual, will leave us a comment or a question or both. And tonight's question that he says is, what was the first live wrestling event you have attended? What was your favorite in-person show, indie or otherwise? Brandon, would you like to start with that one?
Yes, I believe it was, I want to say 05. And it was, or was it 05 or 06? No, it was, man, I don't remember. The only thing I remember was that it was a Raw SmackDown double taping. And it was one like where Ray was, like there's he involved in an angle with JBL and Kurt Angle. This was when Triple H was about to turn back babyface and reform DX with Michaels.
That was 06 then.
Yeah. Oh, and I was there live when they did the whole thing where Michael or Vince McMahon was feuding with Shawn Michaels and the whole God feud, and they did something where like they had like a lightning bolt strike the ring post or a wall of fire block McMahon from getting to Shawn.
Brilliant. So I'll take that was not your favorite in-person show that you attended.
No. Okay. No, I just remember being like, they're really trying to make people believe that God's getting involved in this.
In that sort of look, we admitted this was fake 15 years ago way, yes. That's about the best you could hope for, but it was pretty that you know what? We don't have to talk about that. We can just talk about what was your favorite
Oh, no. Now I remember the first show I actually attended was the one where John Cena it was in 05. It was when John Cena got drafted to Raw.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal back then. So you were there when they drafted John Cena to Raw.
Yep.
And that would be, well, he was going to win the WWE Championship that year at WrestleMania, or not WWE. He won the. No, he did.
Yeah, he got the world title from Bradshaw.
That's right.
And then went over him in a rematch. That was a night went over him in a night quit match at Backlash.
Yes, that had one of the more memorable I Quit endings where Bradshaw just quit under threat of exhaust pipe from truck.
And then Cena hit him anyway.
Yeah, well, you got to hit him. I mean, he's a piece of shit. But yeah, all right. So that was the first. That was the first event you ever attended. Was this Raw where John Cena got drafted to Raw? Interesting. Um. Well. Yeah. And then your favorite one was that or something else?
I want to say Lockdown 2010.
Lockdown 2010. All right. So that was the all gimmick pay per view, like where it's the same gimmick every match is a cage match.
Yep, I believe. Yeah, the reason why that was actually kind of a big deal for me because that was the first time I saw like Hogan, Flair, Nash, Hall live.
Hmm. How was that?
It was interesting. Um, Again, like at least Hogan and Flair weren't really wrestling too much or too involved, and they were just kind of like more like captains of their team, but captains in spirit.
See. Huh. I'm trying to think. Did I ever get to see?
Oh yeah, and that was the night I remember watching RVD have a piece of his forehead skin slide down the side of a cage like a cheese grater.
Gross.
Oh, dude, I'll never forget. Like I remember, like he got his head cut open, and then like something happened where he got thrown into the cage, and I guess it got caught because I remember a piece of skin just sliding down the outside of the cage, like a big old piece of skin, and then he had a vag in his forehead.
Where were your seats? Did you have front row seats for that one, or were they
Not
close?
It was close, but like where the angle where I was at, where it happened, it was just like, oh shit.
See, that's pretty. Yeah. Shit is real.
And then
Uh,
it even shocked me even more the next night when they put the belt on him.
well, they had to make up for the fact that a little forehead slice. So Lockdown 2010. I guess that's a pretty good one. The first live wrestling show I ever attended, I don't remember. It's before my memory because I had an uncle that used to work for Nissan Motors and they would, get comps, to the local wrestling whenever they would come to Arco Arena. And um so whenever he would get tickets or whatever, then be able to go. And they usually weren't that great tickets. They'd kind of be anywhere. But I remember having these programs from it was like around, I want to say like 87. The little programs, you buy a program and then it came with the little insert that had the card lineup for that night, which if you remember going to WWF shows back then, you've probably seen those and you could probably see them, like look them up online and see them, but it was cool. And then so like you buy the little program, which is like the little magazine, and it had the card lineup. And I remember having a card lineup where it would be like matches like um God, who was it? It was like Killer Khan versus George the Animal Steel or something. And I remember seeing that angle on TV, and wanting to see that match because I love George the Animal Steel. Um, Stuff like that. Like whatever there was whatever card came to Arco Arena that had that match on it. That's probably around the first wrestling event that I saw. It was one of those, and I think you know there was some other. There were usually like how you had the A show, the B show, and the C show from those tours when they were doing that Hulkamania, tour, and
To the point they even had a WrestleMania 2 as an A show, B show, C show.
right. So in that, it was usually always the B shows that I would see. It seemed like, uh, and then one year, I actually got an A show because I saw who was it? I believe it was, yeah, it was like Hogan versus Savage. Like that was on the card. It was like Piper versus DiBiase. It was, there's a bunch of people, and I had good seats for that, about 5 rows back, but on the aisle. So I got to see all the wrestlers walk by, but I was too scared to like stick out my hand. Like I just too shy or whatever. Um, but yeah, my memories of that, and I think Andre was on the show too. But my memory of that one was like, I remember there was somebody that had brought a sign, um, and for Hogan, and he had like a few signs. He had a few different signs, but they weren't just like, writing a phrase on the sign. They were like, he drew these like cartoon pictures, these elaborate cartoon pictures of things, and you know signs weren't as big as they would be in the Attitude Era, but they were still, you still saw them from here. So this guy had these signs, and he had like a Hulk Hogan sign or something, and the Macho Man came out and like, he like he tore up somebody's sign. I don't know if it was the same guy, but he came out and tore it up, and Hulk Hogan came out and like he found this sign that I remember this guy had drawn. It was like a picture of the Macho Man, but like as a cartoon mouse, and it was Macho Mouse. It said Macho Mouse on it, and he Hulk Hogan went out there, grabbed that sign, and like walked around in the ring and showed it to everybody in the place, and then he ripped that up, which is like, oh, you shouldn't have ripped that. I mean, I know you're ripping a picture of the Macho Man. Like, I know that's what you're doing, but that guy was probably happy for you to do it, but still, it's like, oh no, that's not, Macho Man was getting heat ripping up a sign, Hogan ripped it up just like, but anyway, yeah. So I remember that, and then I remember a spot where Roddy Piper was like a baby face against the $1 Million Man, and I remember him like doing something. I'd never seen this before, but he was like doing something illegal to Ted DiBiase, and the referee was like counting him, like you got to enforce the rules, right? And then Piper takes the referee and kind of like he picks the referee up and like gently sets him on the top of the turnbuckle and is like, don't, like, you just sit right there and let me do whatever I want. And the referee sat up on the top of the turnbuckle for like a minute and a half waiting to get down until he finally just slinked down off the top. So those are vivid memories I have from that that show. But that wasn't my favorite. That was just the best one I ever saw when I was, going to all those comp tickets events. And then, since then I'd seen pay-per-views, I've seen Raws, I don't actually know if I went to a purely SmackDown taping for whatever reason, but whenever stuff would come around, I'd see it. Of course, I would go on to be on part of my own live events. I had weekly television every week that I was a part of, backstage or on screen, or, going to WrestleMania and being a part of that. And, but my favorite event, I would say, would have been the, whatever that New Japan event was that came to San Jose a few years ago. It was a really awesome show they put on. And had a great match, one of the best matches I've seen live, if not the best, which was El Phantasmo versus Show for the, what was it, the British Cruiserweight Championship or whatever fucking championship he had at the time. But he did his job as a heel, which was to make it look like, for all the world, like he was going to lose the title that night, and then he hung on to it. And it was a great match, and everybody was super into it, so... It's on New Japan World. If you guys are subscribers for 999 yen a month, you can go check out that match, and you can see me in the crowd because I am in the front row for that one. So, good question from Chris Winland. Thank you very much. And just for a Retro Rocket review, who says, who do I report to that the vet was wrong and there's no crossbody across any foreheads on collision? I don't even know why you would bother to try to prove me wrong there, but it had definitely happened. And if you need a timestamp, you go to the Willow Nightingale match and you go to about 40 seconds after the bell. You'll see it. So you could do that right now. And with that, I believe we will move ahead with the show. So what any news? I don't think there's any really news that I saw. But did you have anything that you wanted to discuss or
Not really, but we do have a Punching Up Impact this week.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, we need one of those. Let's see here. Yeah, the only thing I saw in the news was just a thing about NWA had that pay-per-view and the thing with James Mitchell and the cocaine and all this stuff.
I have not heard about this. Let's hear it.
Well, Nick Houseman from House of Wrestling is reporting that, because of this and the fact of them tweeting about it and going viral and everything like that, that it's puts the show's status for being on the CW in flux. I mean, this part is the rumors and innuendo part, so we don't really know what people at the network really think, but he's suggesting that the what is this here? Let me.
Oh, I'm looking at it now. Oh shit.
He's reporting, Nick Houseman being he, there is a 90% chance that both the reality TV series, which was said in the report to have been fully paid for by Corgan, well, of course it was. They're not going to pay for anything. And Power is going to be available on the CW app instead of on television. So if you ever wanted to see something sadder than a CW television network, the app that is named after the same, imagine people actually having that app on their phone and watching CW on the app. How does that even happen? How does somebody that's so out of touch that they watch the CW be in touch enough to have a phone that can download apps? I would assume they would have one of those like June bugs or something,
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Oof. Again, I get what they're going for, but I understand why it can be problematic. It's clearly an angle. It's clearly for show, but...
Yep. But people still mark out for this shit.
Yep.
There's people that mark out for this shit. They don't understand wrestling, and if you fast talk somebody that at a network into making you a deal, and that person doesn't really know what they're getting into, they want to spin it like people want to spin wrestling, and this has a lot to do. Unfortunately, this has a lot to do with sort of the writers era, the Russo and Ferrara coming and ushering in this era where people just think that wrestling is a TV show, so they think they can do things that are on TV shows. Like if you have a scripted, taped television show, movie style, where characters do things like commit murders, do drugs, all this stuff, that you can just write that on your show and say, bro, it's a TV show, bro. Like we can just do this. And it's like, well, it is, but it isn't. It's on TV, but it's not a scripted, and even if you have a script, it's still not the same. Like they shot this TV show and it's got special effects and it's got music and it's got post-production, all this stuff, right? You're supposed to be a predetermined live sporting event. So when you have stuff like drug use on it'd be the same thing as if like you caught an NFL player on the bench doing a line of cocaine during a game.
Yep.
That's what people look at.
Right. If this were to make sense, where's Billy Corgan going, like walking up to James Mitchell going, what the fuck, dude? I gotta punish you.
Right. So it just goes back to my bingo card and number one bingo square, filmed crimes. You can't film crimes and then not, unless you're going to have a consequence on your program. It doesn't make sense. This is not just the Wild West. And yes, Todd Brantley will be covering Turning Point. Thank you for joining us. I just wanted to get that out there. But yes, so this is NWA's problem. Like with the fucking gimp, you know, like this they've been doing this shit. They start a YouTube show that's supposed to be a throwback to like early morning weekend wrestling, you know, called NWA USA, so that you can watch it on YouTube, you know, during those weekend morning hours. And it's supposed to, you know, evoke the memories of you being a kid with your bowl of cereal watching cartoons, and then after cartoons is over is wrestling, and you've got a fucking gimp on your show. No parent should have to explain that to their child that's young enough to be in that demographic that you're trying to capture. I know people are supposedly doing a lot of different stuff with their kids than they did when we were kids, but I still think, regardless of any sort of spectrum of orientation or anything, we don't need to learn about the gimp yet. That's for later. So you have a character like that on your show, and then you wonder why you have less fucking YouTube subscribers than the guy that did a job for Joe Hendry at Turning Point. But anyway, yeah.
Well said.
Just, you know, I don't. Here's the. You know what gets me even hotter than just this whole subject is the fact that I don't want to have anything against the NWA. I want to root for the NWA. I'm happy if Billy Corgan can take time out of his busy, completely other life to own a wrestling company and operate it. But friends of mine have and continue to work there, and I don't want anything to happen to them. I want them to have success, but everybody's just so out of touch with everything in the world. You know, whether it's, you know, thinking that a network deal with the CW is some kind of, it's going to be some kind of a, you know, a major factor for their wrestling company, or thinking that a gimp is a good idea for a Saturday morning show, or what, you know, whatever. Like, it's a joke. You're making a joke out of it, and you're trying to be like, and this funny thing is because it's under the banner of like traditional and old fashioned and throwback, and look at what, you know, we've got this brand that used to be the number one brand and all this. It's like you're trying to have like a more grounded approach, but then you just yeah. So yeah. Well, anyway, that's the only news that I saw that was worthy of covering. If any other headlines happened,
I guess the only thing I can think of is Ric Flair signing a multi-year deal with AEW.
Yeah, we knew that. And his energy drink sponsoring the show. How does that work? You're signing him and you're paying him, yet his energy drink is sponsoring your show? No, I think it's the other way around. Did I just do a LA Night inadvertently? Nah. Let me talk to you. How do you pay a guy whose product is sponsoring your show? What do you just call it even? Like, in return for you being on AEW and working for us and making dates for us, we'll show your energy drink on the screen. I didn't know Ric Flair had an energy drink. So essentially AEW is the commercial for your energy drink, pal.
Do you know he's got wings? You ever seen those?
Woo Wings?
Yup.
Yeah, they're regional.
which is a
It'd
shame.
it would probably cost me quite a bit to overnight Woo Wings from the closest location. Does DoorDash have a jet service? A Lear jet? Woo! They put your wings on the Lear jet, and then when it touches down, the DoorDash driver drives it to you in a limousine with 4 questionable looking hoes in the back seat, and then James Mitchell is there doing coke with them. James Mitchell's about to be delivering my Woo Wings in a second here.
He's partying with Flair.
Yep. So, yeah, I don't. Yeah, God, so much stuff. We got a lot to talk about for once, and we could do a whole show just on how stupid fucking Billy Corgan's NWA has been. But anyway, yeah. But the important thing is we have a Punching Up Impact this week, right?
Yes,
we're going to tell you guys how to do it. You're not doing it right. We're going to take the premium #1 Impact Wrestling podcast in the world, which is right here on Channel Attitude, and we'll show you how to book an Impact show.
Whoop, whoop.
Right. Did you just drink some Ric Flair energy drink there?
Yeah, let's call it that. Woo! Woo!
All right, well, take it away.
Alrighty, so this is for the 10/5/23 edition of Impact Wrestling, and we are picking up where we left off last week because we're completely just, for the most part, scrapping what they did and building new storylines and angles, keeping some maintained, but for the most part, it's a lot different than what they actually did.
Okay.
So we open up with our recap and catch-up packet, intro, Pyro, and Ballyhoo, and then go to the announce table where they talk about recent events. And then we open with an in-ring with Scott D'Amore. He talks about what happened last week to Josh Alexander. He says he has a security tape, but he hasn't seen it yet. And he offers the culprit a chance to fess up or he'll play the tape later in the show. He has 3 suspects and calls them out: Shelley, Sabin, and Moose. Scott gives his reasons why he suspects them. Sabin and Shelley deny it, while Moose continues to play mind games. D'Amore says if it's either of those 3, they have until the end of the night to confess. And then Josh Alexander runs in through the crowd with a chair and everyone bails. D'Amore gets a headset and tells production to go to commercial. Yes, I said grabs a headset because this time he actually doesn't already have one around his neck.
Wow, I don't even know what that would look like.
We go to our first commercial break. Then we come back with a recap that happened during the break of D'Amore trying to calm Alexander down, and Alexander just starts bashing stuff with the chair, including the ring post. Then we cut to backstage, D'Amore's office with Alexander and D'Amore. D'Amore mentions he told Alexander that night in the hospital, stay home until Bound for Glory. Alexander lists every obstacle and hurdle he's had to overcome for the title and says he's done playing games and handling things himself.
Well, it sounds like he's not keeping his emotions in check.
Nope. Then we go to our first match, Tasha Steelz versus Killer Kelly. Tasha Steelz music and entrance with Deanna. We have the announcers point out how it looks like Deanna and Tasha are going over something as they walk to the ring. Killer Kelly music and entrance with Masha. Match ends in a DQ when Tasha pulls a chain from under the ring and uses it on Kelly. Masha jumps in to help, and Deanna attacks her with another chain that's under the ring, and Tasha and Gianna lay out MK Ultra and leave.
Okay.
Then we go backstage for an interview with Gia and Gresham. It's the same one that's on the show. Then we have a pre-tape with Sabin. That's the same one that's on the show. Then we go backstage with Alex Shelley, and he asks a member of the production staff where D'Amore is. He says D'Amore's in his office, and Shelley heads that way before we head to our second commercial break. Then we come back from commercial backstage, and we see Alex Shelley leaving D'Amore's office. Then we have an interview with Gia and Trinity. That's the same one that we see on the show. Then we do the replay of Evans and Jessica on Before the Impact. And then in ring, Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans. Giselle Shaw music and entrance, but during the entrance, Evans attacks Shaw and power bombs off the stage.
Wow.
Then we go backstage with Gia and the Death Dolls. Death Dolls give their thoughts on what Evans just did, and then Crazy Steve enters the shot to remind them that he is coming back to set things right. And I was going to go ahead and spoil it now that he happens to be somebody we were just talking about, who has a storyline connection to all three of those people.
And a storyline cocaine problem?
A little bit. Then we go to match number 2, Moose versus Googer. Moose music and entrance. Googer music and entrance. Total squash match with Moose saying he'll be on commentary for Shelley versus Khan main event. Then we go to our third commercial break. Backstage, come back backstage with Chris Sabin, and he is seen exiting D'Amore's office.
Okay.
And then we go to a video hyping up the Fans Revenge match. And then match number 3, Fans Revenge, ABC versus Skylar and a mystery partner. ABC music and entrance, Skylar music and entrance, Brian Myers music and entrance, because after he got kicked to the curb by Moose, he's trying to get back in with the good hands.
Wow, hands and knees to the good hands, huh?
And then we have ABC going over clean. We have to do a pre-tape with the Rascals. That's the same one that's on the show. Backstage, Shelley and Sabin's locker room. Moose enters and tells him that he'll have Shelley's back in the main event like he had Sabin's last week. Motor City Machine Guns tell him they don't know what his game is, but they don't trust him. Then we go to match number 4, which is that 10-man tag. No televised entrances, and it goes just like it does on the show. Then we cut to backstage. Chris Sabin is found by the cameraman unconscious in his locker room, and the cameraman calls for help. Shelley arrives, and he tries to wake up Sabin before we go to our 4th commercial break. Okay. Then we come backstage with Shelley and Sabin. Sabin's being loaded into an ambulance. Moose shows up and says it's a shame what happened. Shelley tells Moose that he thinks he attacked Sabin. Then we got match number 5, Jonathan Gresham versus Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight music and entrance, Gresham music and entrance. Gresham over Dirty. Bailey confronts Gresham about recent actions, and then Gresham low blows Bailey.
Oh.
And then we go backstage with Bully and Macklin. Macklin confronts Bully again and calls him soft. Macklin wants to know if Bully has his head on for next week's tag match. Bully tells Macklin not to push him. Then we go backstage with Mike Bailey. Gia catches up with him and asks him about what Gresham just did. Bailey says that Gresham has abandoned honor, and he challenges Gresham to a pit match at Bound for Glory.
A pit match.
And then we go to match number 6, the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championship 3-way. Rascals defending against Kenny King and Sheldon Jean, and Sami Callahan and Rich Swann. And then we have Rascals up Dirty.
Spray paint, probably.
And then we are backstage with Scott D'Amore, and he's clearly upset about something, and he tells one of his aides that they need to be found. We go to our 5th and final commercial break. Come backstage with Scott D'Amore. He is still looking for something and clearly getting more anxious. We go to our New Japan hype video, and we cut to the announce table where they run down the card for next week's show, as well as the updated Bound for Glory card. And our main event in the evening, Alex Shelley versus Khan. Khan music and entrance with Diener. Shelley music and entrance. During match, Moose comes down to sit on commentary. The finish comes when Shelley is on the comeback and Diener distracts the ref. Khan sets up Shelley for a power bomb. Moose gets in the ring and spears Khan, rolls out and takes out Diener while Shelley falls on Khan and gets the win. Moose smiles at Shelley. D'Amore comes out and tells everyone that someone has stolen the security tapes, and we go off the air.
No, the tapes. The tapes. Why do we continue to put this stuff on analog when everything is digital? What are we, the people that watch the NWA on the CW? Tapes? All right. Well, that's what could have happened going into Bound for Glory. Coulda, but didn't. They did what they did.
Sadly.
Well, there you go. That's the alternate universe version of TNA. I like that there was more moose, which any moose is almost more moose than what we had been getting recently. Thankfully, at least for tonight, that won't be the case.
We got a good dose of moose this evening for these shows.
Right.
Not as big of a dose as we would have liked, but still a decent enough one.
I trade it all for a little bit more. But yeah. So now here's where we get to. Last week was the clip show, and they had just made their big announcement. We're back. TNA is back, and here's a clip show where nothing is TNA. Now we've got our matches, our tapings, from, well, this, was actually taped at this was on the tour, their European tour. Like the stuff that we're going to see from tonight, we start off with We Own the Night. So, we've got our We Own the Night intro, and then we've got, we're back in the studio with Tom and Matt, and this is stuff from like the Glasgow tour. So they were doing this tour of the UK, they keep saying, but it was, it was like Scotland and maybe parts of England, I guess. And the first match that we get is Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian. For some reason, there was a Glasgow Cup tournament, and this is the finals.
I'm actually going to address what Elizabeth is pointing out.
Please.
I've noticed like something throughout like this show and Turning Point. It looks like they're trying out new things, new camera angles, new ways of production and shooting things, possibly just to see what works leading up into the TNA relaunch.
Yep. Possibly. It's also possible that because this is an overseas tour, they had different equipment and crew.
That too.
Because if you notice this, the ropes, they were using rope ropes. Like nobody except for the WWE uses ropes anymore. And TNA has been using cables since the beginning. But on this tour here and at Turning Point, they actually had ropes. So that was interesting, which made me wonder is like, were they trying to use local rings and they just brought like the aprons and stuff and the turnbuckle pad covers, and the rest was just like local rings that they were using and nobody had cables? Like, is that why? Or are they making the switch to ropes going forward?
Yeah, it seemed like they were experimenting with a lot of different like production techniques these couple of shows.
Yeah. So we'll have to see once they get back to their regular schedule, but this could just be we're working with what we got on this tour, and these cameramen don't normally shoot TNA, and we don't have our hard cam set up here. It just seemed like they didn't want to bring their equipment overseas. That's basically what it looked like to me. So if you didn't like it, maybe don't get used to it, because it might not be like this ever again. Or it might just be like this, certain things. But this wouldn't even be the first time that we've seen this. But anyway, Glasgow Cup, everybody. Everybody knows about the prestigious Glasgow Cup. All the past winners of the Glasgow Cup, including probably Drew McIntyre at some point. That's the only other person I would think that would ever win this if it existed before. But yeah. in the finals, we're not going to hear about any of the other matches that led up to this, but it's just the finals of the Glasgow Cup. And we're going to get, Hendry versus Kazarian here. So the first thing I noticed watching this match was the blade marks on Kazarian's chest. Like he's got three vertical slits in his left pec, like right around the collarbone area. So, yep, it's going to take a while for those to go away.
Nice little throwback. What was that? What was that match he was in? Him and Shelley, or who was that?
No, it was
him and Edwards.
Fat Eddie.
Yeah,
Eddie.
That 2 out of 3 falls. Yeah.
Yep.
Where he bladed his chest.
Yeah, he bladed his chest because Fat Eddie can't hardway his chest with chops, so we have to sell this guy's chops, but we have to do it by blading yourself. Yeah, fucking rotten. But it looks especially bad now because now that there's no blood covering it, it's like, so, if you do bust somebody's chest open with chops, that's not what it looks like. It doesn't look like 3 neat vertical slices. I'll tell you that.
No, like your entire chest is red and purple and looks like ground beef.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a funny picture I could send to you later of a guy. Oh my god. All right. But anyway, yeah, these guys had, it was a modern match. They did all the things that people do in modern matches these days, which is, run away from somebody while they're still standing up and, hit moves back and forth and double down and, all that stuff. Yeah. But apparently, Joe Hendry is able to come away with a win as they're trading pins back and forth, and then he gets him with this sort of arm drag cradle thing, and pins him for 3. I don't know what to call this move. I recently saw this move on NXT. Somebody used this similar move, and they pinned somebody, and in that instance, I don't remember who it was now. Maybe somebody in the chat remembers that watches the Next Level review, but in that thing, the person's shoulder was clearly able to be up and they just didn't stick their shoulder up. At least in this one, Frankie kept his shoulder down and Joe Hendry looked like he could have been holding it down with his weight, even though I still think you could probably kick out of it if you're not, because it's a pin where you're fully conscious and not like you just took a big move. You could kind of kick out of this and force your way out of it. But whatever, they went with this. They went with this new cool arm drag cradle headlock pin that people have been pinning people with lately. It's all the rage with the kids these days on the streets, and those kids with their CW apps and everything. And so rightly a Scottish person wins the Glasgow Cup. What'd you think of the match, Brandon?
I thought it was, a pretty decent match. I mean, they had Kazarian wrestle as the heel, as he should have in this match, but he still didn't abandon his character.
Yeah. Well, this kind of a modern match, you just stick any 2 people in there and they're going to do this match regardless of what their characters are or anything nowadays. I sound like some old crusty,
some vet.
Yeah, some vet. These kids are doing too much. But yeah. So I mean, it was fine. Joe Hendry won a little trophy. The trophy looks better than the
Call your shot one.
Yeah, definitely that. The modified bowling trophy. This was like a prestigious. It's like a PBA bowling trophy. So yeah. Anything else on that, or?
No, I thought it's kind of. Again, it just shows that Hendry is one of the guys who knows how to control and have a crowd in the palm of his hand. Like as soon as he mentioned, by the way, there's some changes coming in this company, and then all of a sudden the crowd chants TNA. And I don't know, I felt like that was what he was going for with that comment. and he got it from them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all he had to do was be from that country. So there you go. Next is a promo from the Virtuous Pro Wrestling Gods, which that is obviously Brian Myers, Moose, and Deonna Purrazzo. Named as such by Moose in this promo. He's saying for one night only, you guys are going to get this, and they're going to be taking on Subculture.
Fun
But
times.
hey, yeah, but at least Moose was there, and he came up with a fun name for their one night only mixed team.
Yeah, and it was smart of them to turn Purrazzo back heel.
Yeah.
She's just better in that role.
Yeah, who are you kidding? Trying to not be a heel. She wasn't even like a baby face. She was just not being a heel.
Right. She was just competing against other heels and trying to be like, oh, I kind of gotta be nice a little bit.
Yeah, they tried to do that thing where when you have equity with the fans, they'll cheer for you because they hated you so much as a heel and they want to see you do good, but she did not nearly play that up one way or the other enough. No, not anything against what Deonna has done. It's more like the booking again.
They never really gave an inciting incident or any storyline or reasons to care about her as a babyface.
Yeah. Hendry cuts a promo about winning the cup, and then he also cuts a promo about Simon Miller, who is a guy he's going to face at Turning Point. Which I'm like, who the fuck is Simon Miller, right? Yeah, who? Wait a minute, who? I don't have a kazoo here, but so unlike most people who say who and then make a point of being so proud of how they don't know who somebody is, I did my research on Simon Miller, and apparently Simon Miller is one of those guys from What Culture? That annoying wrestling website channel, whatever, British guys that talk about wrestling and make jokes about how many orgasms they're having about the good stuff in wrestling, like those guys. Yeah, he's one of them. But I guess he wrestles. And
he's actually like in shape.
Yeah, he's in shape. And like I said earlier, he has more subscriptions to his channel, to his personal channel, not even the What Culture channel. I'm not talking about What Culture. I'm talking about Simon Miller's YouTube channel has more subscribers than NWA does on YouTube. So let that sink in for a minute. And now we'll move on. So the other notable thing about this promo from Hendry is that the lights are back. If that's something that's they had to have a green. This one was green, like Miss Lippy's car. There's green lights on this one. So
Billy likes to drink soda.
Mm-hmm. Nudie Magazine Day. All right, we could just do Billy Madison for we could probably, between the two of us, we could just act out the entire script of Billy Madison off the top of our head. We're not going to do that, even though that would be arguably more fun than whatever TNA programming.
You like wrestling? You ever heard of this guy called the Revolting Blob?
Oh yes, it was a stunt. He was supposed to pinch my leg if he was running out of air. Don't worry. We'll get to Simon Miller's match. All right, we'll get to that. But before that, we'll get to the okay. So Tom introduces this match from the studio, and he says, "I guess I'll just call them the most professional wrestling virtuosos." So I don't care what you guess you'll call them. Moose already named the team. So this just goes to show you that your continuity is out of order and you're just not on board with it.
Yeah, like, are you
Now,
even watching what you're calling?
yeah, do you even watch wrestling, bro? This so like you could have even said like Moose calls them the most, virtuous pro wrestling gods, but I prefer, like whatever, get your own shit in or whatever. But, this just makes it look like your shit is out of order. So, but whatever. It's a small thing, but just so everybody knows, I'm watching you. Okay. You can't get one by me. So anyway, it's those guys versus Subculture, which is already like a mixed trio. So this works out for them. They should have the advantage since they always spend time together. And this is intergender rules, so anybody can wrestle anybody here. Um, so right off the top, my first note that I wrote down here is this looks like junior high school kids fighting the teachers. That's what this match physically looks like. Like if there was if a class got unruly and the teachers had to like physically settle things down, like and the kids are fighting, like that's what it looks like, which is bad. Mm. But hey, uh, and it's going to be a lot of these guys having to sell for this. We already talked about subculture is just one of those. They're already built like children, like literal children, and then we have to, you know what I mean, like we have to sell for it. Even though Moose is gigantic and Myers is big, and even like Deanna's not a small, she's not a petite lady. But both the women on these teams have more lower body mass than Andrews or Webster.
Yeah, like I could believe Danny Luna could take either Webster or Andrews in a shoot fight.
Right. They probably weigh the same. If not, she weighs more. But that's fine. It's okay if you have a match where you can actually, what to do, how to work that match. We just saw on Collision that we saw Darby Allin versus Lance Archer, and they did regardless of the booking of the match, they did the best match that you could do in a mismatch situation like that. And I give the credit to Darby Allin because Darby Allin is an excellent worker. He's known as a stunt guy. He doesn't get enough credit for his psychology and his wrestling because no one would care, because Darby Allin is built like a guy from Subculture, except he's not having Lance Archer take head scissors from him and do all kinds of shit. He lets Lance Archer kick the shit out of him, and then whatever offense he gets looks believable. However he works that in. This was none of that. This was just these guys are all working same size, same gender match. So it's whatever. Moose gets triple power bombed at one point. Like at least it did take all three of them to do it, but the most believable one was Danny Luna. And then, but thankfully he's the one to end all this foolishness with a spear to Mark Andrews, which he had to get way, way low to the ground to deliver. And, as because his experience as an offensive lineman, he's used to getting low. So it was able to do it no problem. He spears Andrews. Moose wins. Most virtuous pro wrestling gods win. All's well that ends well, I guess. Brandon, what were your thoughts on this?
You pretty much articulated them. This should have not. It should have been like a 5-7 minute squash of Moose basically just plowing through everybody and Deanna getting her shit in on Danny, or maybe even a submission on one of the other guys.
Yep. Well, but Subculture is the hometown hero, even though they're from a different country altogether.
Yeah, they're Australian, aren't they? I thought.
No, they're all from England.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure. Yes, I left that awkward silence in on purpose. So anyway, next is Josh and Eric. This sounds like a late night Adult Swim show. Um, it's yeah, Josh Alexander and Eric Young talk about them having a match with Subculture. So don't worry, we're not done with Subculture. Uh, the lights on this promo here, this little conversation in the hallway was they were violet lights, by the way, nice little lavenderish, violetish, purplish deal. So very nice. Okay, and then
Turning
get
violet.
all right. Well, we've got a golden ticket to this match, which is next, which is Grado versus Trey Miguel. Hey guys, remember Grado? It's Scotland, by the way. So here's Grado. I guess he's a big celebrity over there, or at least a medium one.
More like I'd call him like a local celebrity, like like that whole this like Scotland. He's big in Scotland or Scottish wrestling.
Yeah, but doesn't he have like isn't he like a media personality of some sort there? Like
I
does he have
think
like a TV show or some shit or
I think he has something that he does that people know him from outside of wrestling. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I think he's got something.
is he just like one of those celebrities that appears on game shows sometimes or something? Like I don't know. Yeah. Well, whatever he does, he also wrestles, I guess, still. And that's what he's doing here, if you can call it that. Although this didn't look to be like this wasn't like a fully comedy match. It was like they were kind of having a regular match. I mean, Grado still did his spots, and his strutting and shit like that, but not overly comedic, I don't think. What did you think of the match? Like, what was your appraisal of this?
I mean, for those two guys, I thought they did pretty well. They played to their strengths, and it didn't get too ridiculous. And I'm looking it up right now. Currently, Grado is the host of Scotland's Greatest Escape.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite. It's probably still got more international viewers than NWA. Grado goes over with the big boot. I didn't know that was his finish. Was Grado known for the big boot, guys?
The wee boot, yep.
Okay. Well, look, I'm out of touch. All right. I don't know Grado's finish. The wee boot. So yeah, that's enough to take down Trey Miguel, former Impact Tag Team Champion, former X Division Champion. Yeah, it was fine. Anything else on this?
Nope. I think we're good to move on.
All right, Fat Eddie challenges Ospreay at Turning Point. He gets a green light for his promo here. So, Eddie's associated with the color green, so that makes sense. It's nice of them to set up a little green spotlight to coordinate with his signature color. All right, next is Trinity versus Emerson Jane. This would be another good spot for a who and a kazoo, perhaps, of some sort. But if you need help picturing what this lady looks like in your mind, imagine if Jennifer Coolidge was a wrestler, and then you'd pretty much get it. And if you don't recognize her by that name, perhaps Stifler's mom would be more appropriate for you guys to recognize her, that actress. So, yeah. Imagine her in some indie gear, and then that's Emerson Jane for you. I tried to watch this like with an eye for like, okay, well maybe she's like a diamond in the rough here. Maybe we should watch out for Emerson Jane in the future. I didn't really see any of that. I don't have anything to report to you that we need to look out for Emerson Jane. Unfortunately, she just seems like she'll just be a perpetual local wrestler in whatever promotions they have over there.
My biggest takeaway from this match at the very beginning, when Trinity extended her hand, and she went to kick Trinity's hand away and completely whiffed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a heel, as we'll see, if you're a heel, stupid shit like that you can get away with, and it gets you more heat. Uh, but I'm sure that's not. Yeah. Yeah. Retro Rocket even had to skip this. He says that she's too hard on the eyes, and Retro Rocket loves fat women, so I don't even know what to tell you. Like, yeah, he even said that right as I say that. Maybe she's not large enough. She just kind of has like a, you know, a bag of wet laundry body. But at least she's trying to cover it up with the gear she wears. She had these big baggy pants and whatever, and yeah. Anyway, Trinity wins with a bubble bomb that she then like sort of does that spin over into a sort of sunset flip style cover. So 1, 2, 3. Then we get a montage of the tour that they've gone on, a little package here about how much everybody loves each other and the locker room gets along. So all these babyface and heels getting along, and they're all together and praising the company out of character. This is what forges these bonds, these trips on the road, these road trips. This is this would be the part of the business that I regretfully didn't experience. Well, I say regretfully only because it is a big part of wrestling, the road trips, the camaraderie, and things like that. I didn't get to do a lot of road trips, only a couple. Only made a couple of towns, brother. Most of the stuff was located at the same, the Davis Arena. That's most of the stuff that I did. So yeah. So we had our own version of camaraderie, but only took a couple of road trips to make towns to work in front of crowds that were different than the normal crowd. But I say that I regret that in a sense, but I also don't regret it because I fucking hate traveling, and I hate road trips, and I hate car rides, and I hate plane rides, and I hate everything. I just hate wasting time not being at the thing I want to be at. I just want to be there. I don't want to go there. I wish I had a teleportation device is basically what I'm trying to say.
Or if you really do one of these and just disappear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll learn that instant transmission technique from those people from that planet. So that would be nice, but we don't have that yet. So we'll just wait for Elon to figure out some way to work that into Neuralink.
I'm still waiting for a hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah. And capsule machinery. And can we just get the entire Dragon Ball universe right now, please? Thank you. But we won't get that, but we will get a promo for Deep Fear, which is a movie that's either out or about to come out or came out a year ago. I can't tell because when you look up Deep Fear, a couple different movies pop up. One has a shark on it. I think that's this one. And then one is like a French thriller from like a year ago. But knowing Impact, it could be that too because they're not always up on their current releases. Sometimes they're sponsored by a movie that got held back from production. So, yeah, Deep Fear. It's got a shark. All right, anybody wants to watch Deep Fear? Let us know how it is. Hey, don't get us a DMCA strike on the channel. That's all right. This channel's demonetized, right? All right, Trinity cuts a promo on Deanna. Say she's definitely going to feel the glow. She's got a Union Jack on the back of her hair, which I thought looked cool. When she turns around to leave.
Yep. One thing I do want to add about that package of them on the UK tour.
Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
That's another one of those things that makes me think they're testing out new production techniques because that was almost shot like a documentary kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it other than the
kayfabe breaking.
Right. And although the only way all you have to do to get around that is just make sure that you only get sound bites from the baby faces. You could still show the heels doing other stuff, just don't show them together. show the heels be separate, do their own thing. Like if you want to see, you want to show Moose doing something, like make sure it's him by himself,
Or him and
or with
Myers.
Brian Myers. And then, when you get a soundbite, make sure you get one of the people like Josh Alexander or stuff, which they did, or, those type of things. But that's all you
Or
got to do.
And if it's one from a heel, make sure it's in character.
Mm-hmm. But normally I don't like these motherfuckers, but, some of them are all right. Or just have them put over their heel partners, I never used to like Brian Myers until we had to travel together, something like that.
Yeah, plenty of ways to get around that.
All right, well, there was no way around this. Your main event is Josh and Eric. Eric! All right, more Billy Madison references versus Motor City Machine Guns. Brandon, do you have any
Nah, this is just a main event house show match with nothing on the line, no stakes. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to get invested in this at all. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize for them. They know what they did. Yeah, a lot of look, as soon as you put Motor City Machine Guns in there, you're basically, it's almost like okay, so you know how magnets work, right? You have the positive and the negative poles of the magnet, and if you press the positive to the negative, it goes together. When you make it a positive and a positive, they don't go together, right? Or a negative and a negative, whichever it is.
They
You
repel.
need the opposite to attract. Basically, if you put a negative, which is the Motor City Machine Guns, with me, a negative, it's just going to push me away. So you're basically telling me not to watch anytime you have the guns on screen. And so I didn't really watch. But I just assume through osmosis of it being on the television and while I was doing other things and my decades of history with these two who are the greatest wrestlers who ever lived, I assumed that it was just like a bunch of stuff where they forgot to tag for long periods of time and just ran unlimited double teams and kicked out of stuff and oh, and of course Goldberg 98's going over with a cradle shock on EY.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, like, neither of them are wrestling at Turning Point, but Josh and EY are. Well, I take that back. Saban was in a tag match with Kazarian. I forgot against who, but we'll get to that.
Right, randomly. Why is that?
Yeah, why wasn't your champion defending the belt at the show? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, we don't want Turning Point to actually be a turning point. I mean, what if he lost? Then we'd have a turning point. Anyway, one more Deep Fear trailer to get us out of here. Take us home. Deep Fear.
Deep Fear.
Yeah, it's deep. All right. Well, there you have it. That's gonna whet your appetite until Turning Point, which is it was the next night. All right, you didn't have to wait long. That was good. That was good of them. If that's one thing I can say, it's that you didn't have to wait long to watch your pay-per-view. When I found out that Turning Point was on this past weekend, I refused to believe it because Javi told me about it, and I didn't want to believe him. It's like no, it's not. It's not on. It was on. So Turning Point, we get our opening package. And then we get, like I mentioned, they have ropes here again. So it wasn't just, I noticed the ropes at some point during this and I was like, wait a minute, did they have the ropes in those other matches? So I went back to the Impact episode and then I was like, yep, they sure did. So All right, we're kicking off this with Team Canada, which, like you said, is uh, you know, those
EY
guys.
and Josh Alexander. Whoop whoop.
Right. Oh yeah, you didn't say that. You said Chris Sabin teamed up with somebody. Okay.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, him and Kazarian teamed up. I forgot against who though. That's drawing a blank. I don't know why it's. I'm gonna go look that up. I'm stupid. I should know this.
It was Moose and Myers.
Oh
Is
yeah,
what it
Moose and
was.
Myers. Exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Um, but yeah, so
Which I feel
here,
stupid for forgetting that.
well, you're probably like them, and it's hard to believe, but sometimes maybe forget Moose exists. But yeah, at least here he was represented. But we'll get to him in a little bit. So this is Team Canada versus Subculture. So we get more Subculture, and it took about 15 minutes for them to hit the C4 on Andrews and put him away. Okay, he's a feisty little guy. Just refuses to stay down, except for this C4, which it looked pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, I'll admit that finish looked good, and he took that bump really well.
Right. If there's one thing he can do is take bumps. I don't know. I don't have any deep thoughts on the match. It was just, look, it's Subculture, They have a type of match, and they did it. So Impact signs some kid named Leon Slater. We learn from a graphic. So, and we've not seen this person on any programming whatsoever, even though they've been on tour and they had a montage and they talked about this stuff. And then they show highlights from a match he had with Kazarian. And they show him signing the contract on Scott D'Amore's back, making it look like he offered him a contract on the spot just because of the match he had. And then he does a quick promo in the back. So we get to hear from Leon Slater. What do you think of Leon Slater?
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw the graphic, I'm like, wait a minute, didn't they already sign Leo Rush?
Well, they need their own permanent Leo Rush.
Like, I'm sorry, like like from the way he performed in the ring to his promo, he looked and sounds like a British Leo Rush. I'm sorry.
Yep, British Leo Rush, or perhaps he could replace Desmond Xavier and be a third Rascal, British Rascal. He's got that same look. Liz said he looked like a child. Well, I think he is young, at least.
I want to say
a reason for that.
I'm pretty sure they said he was 19.
Yep, that's a young ass man. All right, well, let's hope that he doesn't have the maturity of a 19-year-old, but that he's wise beyond his years. And the lights for his promo were pink, by the way, just in case you were wondering what lights they were using for that. All right, next is Giselle Shaw versus Alex Windsor. This would be another good spot for a who? I'm sorry, who? Alex Windsor. Okay.
Thank God for the announcers explaining who these people are. Otherwise, we had no idea on why these matches actually might have any kind of stakes or any semblance of importance.
I think I'm picking up the facetiousness there. But regardless, I'll give this to Alex Windsor. Compared to old Stifler's mom, she actually looked like a pro wrestler in terms of her gear. I also noticed as part of that gear, she has a hefty knee brace on her left knee. So, her leg's already been shot. And just her actual looks, like as a physical presence, as a woman, whatever. I don't really have anything to report in terms one way or the other. It's just somewhat forgettable, but she looked professional in her presentation at least. So I'll say that. As for wrestling, well, it's nothing to write home about either. Um, Giselle hits the denouement and puts her away. So
I liked
I
the
don't know.
finish.
Yeah, did Alex Windsor do anything to set herself apart for you, or
Not really. I mean, again, my only takeaway from this match was I liked the finish. Like, she went for the denouement, moved out of the way, short pump with the other knee, and then comes back and hits it and goes over. Simple and easy.
fine finish? Let's see. Next is the Simon Miller promo. Uh, he says stuff about like Joe Hendry must have thin skin if the stuff that he said on his channel got him upset or during his show, which we're like, what are you talking about? Because we haven't seen this yet. And then he said he doesn't like thin-skinned beings. I think that's the phrase he used. Being. He called him a being. And he says he doesn't believe in Joe Hendry, but everybody's going to believe in Simon Miller. His light color for this, red. Maybe he'll join, the design or something.
And again, at least they played the footage and showed why this match is happening.
Yes. Wait, they didn't do that here, did they?
On
they
the
did one later.
No, on the turn, right before their match, they actually showed like the clips, the online clips of what led to this match.
No, but I'm saying in this, this was just a quick 30-second backstage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But later on, like before they get,
I got that. I got that in the notes, and I've got something to say about it too. But right now, I have nothing to say about Rich Swann versus Trey Miguel.
Throwaway flippy hitty match.
Yeah. Well, they worked count out at least. I'll give them that. They actually worked a count out where it looked like Rich Swann might get counted out, but he barely made it back. So very good. Good job, guys. Some people just forget that a count out can actually finish a match until it's time for it to finish a match. I like to see more people utilize what's available to them, and then you don't have to do as many flippies and hitties. You can get people excited that way. You can really get people excited if you're good enough. I don't know if either of these guys are good enough. In fact, I'm quite sure they're not, which is not necessarily a knock because very few people are. But if you're good enough and or over enough, you can get people invested with just a look. Just a facial expression. You look at somebody in that front row the wrong way and they might want to incite a riot. It's just, how much do they believe in you and what you're doing? So with that being said, even something as simple as you being outside the ring and they think you're not going to make it by the count of 10 or 20, depending on what promotion you're working for. But if they think you're not going to make it back to the ring and they want to see you get back in there and fight, they'll get behind you. It's the easiest thing in the world. Can you beat a count of 10? Everyone understands that. Everyone can get behind it. Even if they didn't care about you before, they might care about you now in this one moment. So things like that are important. It's a way to add time to the match without adding moves to the match. More shit you have to do. More chances for you to get hurt. It's better to crawl on your hands and knees. It's harder to get hurt that way. And then you reach for the ring. I can't make it. And then the people cheer for you. You can make it. Come on. It's not that hard. Or you could be Rich Swann and hit him with a 450. Yeah, 450. But at least it's the finish. 450.
Or Trey Miguel and get kicked in the face twice in a row and completely no-sell it.
Yeah, who needs... It's just a kick in the face. Well, it's just like anything, right? You do it enough, you get you build up a callus to it. These guys kick each other in the face so much. Just imagine the first time they take like a super kick, right? They
Lights
probably
out.
out cold, couldn't eat solid food for like 2 weeks, and then after a while, after so many jaw reconstructive surgeries and concussions from whiplash and all that stuff, broken noses, like after a while, it just you're gonna need to hit me with something a little bit stronger than a human foot, pal, to keep me down.
Shit, I'm gonna need to take a bunch of punches, direct punches from Mike Tyson to put me down.
That's right. We're gonna need an elephant kick. Speaking of which, Danny Luna cuts a promo on Jordan Grace here. Not to
Oof.
say that Danny Luna is an elephant by any means, but I mean she does have some thighs on her.
I just remember that promo. That was a rough promo.
Yeah. Well, basically they're saying like she said something about, I didn't write it down. All I wrote down here was Danny Luna's promo on Grace, but I seem to remember her saying something about like she said something like people have been comparing the two of us and it's time to find out who's stronger. Not that I follow any of these people, but I'm quite sure I've never seen them compared. I don't think anybody's ever been talking about Danny Luna and Jordan Grace in the same breath. Perhaps it's happened. Just never seen it. And they're going to find out who's stronger. So, Danny Luna versus Jordan Grace. Who's stronger? They do a who's stronger match, I guess, for the most part. Not really. I saw a lot of forearms. I don't remember them like going back and forth with like, let's say trying to get like a big slam or something like that. Or feats of strength. I just remember them forearming each other a lot.
I think I remember there was one spot where Danny had Jordan hooked up for something and basically like lifted her up, like deadlifted her, and then put her down with the suplex. Okay. Like from the mat, like deadlifted her.
Okay. Yeah. It's nice. Well, anything else to add about the match? Jordan goes over with the Grace driver.
Of course. Because he's challenging for the belt, because why not?
Right. Yeah, and Subculture ain't winning shit on this show.
Nope, they're just there because they're hometown and to fill a spot in the card.
Yep. Or sort of hometown.
Sort of.
This is a country or two over. It's no big deal. It's close enough. Closer than America, anyway. But here's the thing that you have to learn. It doesn't really matter where you're from. Whoever's the bigger star is going to be more over. So that's why, you see that when you see the WWE go to these countries and Triple H goes over Jinder Mahal because Triple H is a bigger star.
Yep, because some cab driver might say, "Oh yeah, DX is more over than our hometown or our guy that looks like us."
Yeah, the guy that looks like us. Yeah, they know he's a Canadian. Not truly one of us. So, all right. So next is the package where it's showing the history between Simon Miller and Joe Hendry and how he was on their food fight show and stuff got out of hand and they got into a scuffle in the What Culture offices. See this What Culture on, you saw that on the wall, like the big What Culture sign on the wall. Yeah, so they're preparing you for this match, showing you all this stuff. And I'm like, where was all this stuff when you guys were putting a clip show together?
Right, you'd think you'd put this on your Impact show to build this. I mean, the only thing I could think of is that it was shot after it aired, but
I don't think so. I think they would have had time to do something like this. But if they knew they were going to do it,
Right.
we should have heard about it.
Exactly. Why not give it more of a build?
Yeah, dude. If you're going to, okay, look, if you're going to do a clip show, if you're going to do a goddamn clip show, instead of just showing us matches from the pay-per-view that we are supposed to have bought and watched already, even if you want to do that, could you like sprinkle in new content? We need new content, stuff that we might not have seen. Like maybe we don't follow every single one of these Impact wrestlers on social media, so maybe show some stuff that they've been doing, especially if they've been booking their own angles. Like maybe we would have been interested in seeing that instead of, the match we just saw the previous week. Like,
yep. Like for this, something simple could have been you shoot the footage on air it on last week's Impact. And then on this one, you do something where Hendry has a match or something. He calls out Simon, and then you see something on the Titantron of Simon cutting a pre-recorded promo on him. Just something.
Now let's just do it all here. So it's Simon Miller versus Joe Hendry. Miller comes out. He does an in-ring promo. He makes a lot of sincere apologies. He says, "Don't hate the player, hate the subscribe button," which I'm sure the NWA does. Then he goes to the mic falls out of his hand, like he drops the microphone, and the crowd starts chanting, "You fucked up," which is funny.
And I'll give it to him. He played that off as well as he could have.
Yes.
And luckily somebody in the back was paying attention because they immediately cut to the Joe Hendry video.
Right. And like I said before, when you're a heel, this is a perfect example. When you're a heel, you can't do anything wrong. So even when you screw up, you use that and make that part of it.
And he rolled right with it.
Yeah. What else could you do? You dropped the mic and it fell out of the ring. I mean, I was pretty sure he was done talking anyway, but that's beside the point. Like,
it was a visual fuck up.
Right. And he just stared at it, and it was great. And then, yes.
And he even tried to pass it off like it was the microphone's fault, which is even better.
Right. It's easy. It's easy. But yeah, if you're a no nonsense babyface, that'll ruin your career. Joe Hendry, though, he does get that song and a video, like he would for these type of things.
And it was actually pretty funny. I thought the Nickelback references worked pretty well.
Yeah. In the video, he's sort of calling him a Wish version of Austin and calls him Mr. Clean, and I guess Chad Kroger, like you're saying.
They even had like that one thing from like the Photograph music video, like that quick little shot of that.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you get from Joe Hendry. This is what you can expect.
Which I'm 100% sure he completely creates and produces those videos himself.
Yeah, he has to. We've seen what the company produces, so there's really no doubt. Then they have the match, and while the match was fine and kind of what you'd expect, and they worked it pretty well, or they laid it out pretty well anyway. I will say Miller's fundamentals to me appeared very lackluster. However, they didn't have the type of match where that was too exposed. I only saw it because I'm me. The rest of the time, I thought they covered up what he couldn't do for the most part. And he did fine, but, fine for a YouTuber, fine for a celebrity guest, fine for whatever. For a full-time pro wrestler, I would definitely work on some things and just keep drilling it. Footwork, really. A lot of happy feet. Like he takes little steps, in times. So he just needs to learn how to move around the ring when he's on his feet. But most of the time he was just doing something like a flying tackle or whatever, or a clothesline or something that doesn't, he doesn't have to do a lot of running. So.
And he also at least is in shape. He looked good, and he actually had ring gear.
Yeah, he had ring gear. Yeah, that's another important part. But yeah, fundamentals, and he was looked pretty gassed at some point too. Like he seemed like he was really sucking wind toward the end, and the match was not like a long match, so probably doesn't wrestle very often. Is my guess. Hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's fine for what it was.
It got its business across.
Right. Anything else to add on that?
Nope. I just thought it was a decent, entertaining match, and both guys did their parts well.
Okay. Next was the package about Gut Check, which they did in, I guess, Glasgow, Scotland, and Coventry, England. They had Scott D'Amore and Josh Alexander and Gail Kim and Joe Hendry were doing like some of the scouting for this. And yeah. And then the people they eventually ended up with is somebody named Mike D. Not from the Beastie Boys, but
I guess he ain't getting
Belgium.
no money.
And Harley Hudson from Liverpool. So one boy and one girl.
I'm not gonna lie, like Harley Hudson kind of looked like Pebbles grown up, if that's what she was going for.
Flintstone Pebbles?
Yes. At least with the outfit.
Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what they do. But this was this was a slightly interesting little deal. I kind of would have rather seen this on the TV.
Yep. Definitely a TV spot.
Mm-hmm. But oh well. Let's see. Deanna and Trinity are warming up. Doing a little warm up there. Then we get the most professional wrestling gods versus the random teaming of Sabin and Kazarian. TNA originals, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
And
the
again,
one note I had for this, you could take the rest of it. The only note I had for this was Moose is surrounded by mediocrity until he spears Kazarian to finish this.
Sounds about right. And again, I'll say all the praise to the announcers for trying to make sense out of this, trying to justify this. Like, they got their work cut out for them, and I think they're doing pretty damn well for what they got. When they kind of explained how, like, Kazarian and Sabin's history goes back to all the way to 2003 when they had the Battle of the Futures, and then their most recent angle with each other. So the announcers are at least trying to do something, but I really don't feel like the company really is.
Wow. I cannot agree or disagree, because if there's one thing I really cannot pay full attention to, it is the announcing on these shows. I can catch it sometimes, but for the most part, I have to multitask, so I'm usually not that in tune with what they're saying. So yeah, but Moose was in it, so I'm definitely watching with my full attention. Moose.
And Moose went over.
Moose went over. So that's 2 Moose go-overs on this, And that makes sense, because the only reason that he's going over is because he's got that briefcase, so we have to think he's going to be, Impact Champion worthy. And that's their psychology anyway. He should always be Impact Champion worthy. He shouldn't be doing any jobs for anybody ever, anywhere. But now that he's got a briefcase, now he gets to win matches. Okay, sure. Whatever it takes, however you have to justify it in your minds, just let Moose win.
Which I think they might be kind of the swerve going into Hard to Kill. Like, if they're going with like a whole new look, whole new direction, whole rebranding, why not put it on him?
He's the obvious choice. Okay, so then we get a package, and then it is the Knockouts Championship match of Trinity versus Deanna Purrazzo with special referee Gail Kim. Now, Brandon, did you get a chance to see this?
This was one of the matches I did not get to see.
Okay.
But I did read about the finish, how it ended up with Deanna pissing off, doing something to Gail, getting hit with Eat Defeat, and that leads into the finish.
absolutely wrong. Well, not
Oh,
absolutely wrong, just partially wrong. I'll tell you. Uh, okay, they had a good match. Nothing crazy. But they actually didn't really use Gale in the match, which was, I thought, a mistake.
right.
Like,
If you're gonna
there's
have
really,
right. If you're gonna have a special referee in the match like that, they should play a vital part in the match.
yeah, it was pretty straightforward. There may have been like, look, I didn't have the eagle eye, like Moose is already gone, so now the eagle eye has been put away, and now it's the lazy eye. So I'm like watching the match. I watched the match for sure. I may have looked away at a certain point or so. So if I did, and I missed the part where Gail and Deanna ran a spot or something like that, then it must have been very brief because it definitely didn't last for long. Maybe it would have had to have been like a glance or a warning or something quick that they snuck in there. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. And then Deanna taps out to the Starstruck, and then
Okay. I went
after
back
she
and read it. It was after the match.
yeah after she taps out to the Starstruck, then she gets in Gail Kim's face like, "How dare you record my submission?" I guess I don't know what her beef would have been, because like I said, Gail didn't do anything in the match that I saw that would instigate this.
Right.
So
You would have had to have built it throughout the match of like 2 counts and close calls and Deanna getting frustrated and going off on Gail Kim. And then eventually gets to one point where Deanna hits a big move, kick out, or Trinity gets to the ropes. She takes issue with Gail, pushes Gail, Gail pushes back, go for a swing. Gail hits her finish, leads into the finish.
mhm. Or that, or a fast count for the babyface, or any of those things that you do, the classic referee spots, or make up a new one. You had a bus ride to figure out a finish for your fucking match. You could have come up with some way to use a special referee in this. Instead, you did nothing, and then after the match, you shove her for no reason, and she hits you with her finish, and then they play her music. They play the referee's music. But hey, Gail Kim over. We love Gail Kim. There's nothing wrong with Gail Kim.
No, nothing at all. It just could have been handled and booked a lot better.
Yeah. But it's Trinity and Deanna. They had a nice match. I'll say that. Like I said, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
They didn't do a bunch of, hey, let's try to impress everybody and
Right.
show that we're just as good as the men or anything like that.
It is tough for Trinity and Deanna to have a bad match with each other.
Yeah, especially at this point. They probably worked plenty of times, even that we haven't seen. But the main event, though, Will Ospreay cuts a promo on Fat Eddie, and Will Ospreay gets a green light on his promo.
Ooh.
Because he's part of the United Empire, and their colors are green, black, and gold. So he gets green too. So it's a battle of guys who like green. And Miss Lippy's battle for Miss Lippy's car in a Pullman. No, it's just a regular match between Eddie Edwards and William Ospreay. So they start this match with they do the lockup, and then he pushes Ospreay back to the ropes, and then he does a break, and then he faints like he's gonna chop Will Ospreay. Gonna hit you, right? Like that's something to be scared of. Listen, Will Ospreay is dumb. Okay, like it's not just me saying that. He's said that about himself multiple times in public, that he's dumb. And we know he's dumb because he got that Wembley attendance tattoo, right? But even Will Ospreay, though he may be tattoo dumb, he's not blade his chest dumb. So your chop isn't going to get over, all right?
And at least he realized he fucked up with that tattoo.
Well, how could you not? How could you not realize that? There's no way not to realize it. Unless you just completely stopped listening to anything related to wrestling after you got it. He wouldn't have been able
But
to go into one locker room without realizing that. But yeah, but he's not dumb enough that he's gonna blade his chest. And Will Ospreay's chops are better than Eddie Edwards anyway, so I wouldn't do the spot where like I'm threatening a guy, like I'm somebody that can do damage with a chop. But whatever. As Eddie gets fatter, he's going to do less and less, so he's going to rely on these chops. So he might as well learn how to hard
pork
way
chops?
somebody with them. More pork chops. Let's get some applesauce out here for these. All right. Another note I have was
No joke. There's actually I think the video game is Wild Arms 3. There are these enemies who are basically giant anthropomorphic pigs, and one of their moves is pork chop, and they hit you with like a wrestling chop.
why did nobody think of this before Wild Arms 3? So another note I have for young dumb Will Ospreay is you basically do every move in your matches that you've ever known for the most part. Guys like Mark Andrews also do every move that they know. But if one of the moves that both of you guys know is more one guy's move than the other one, just let him have it. Like, let Mark Andrews have the Stun Dog Millionaire. Just, I'm pretty sure he at least, if not invented it, he innovated it. So, you know,
And
like,
and it actually looks decent when he pulls it off.
yeah, and he doesn't have much else. Will Ospreay's got like 1,000 other moves that aren't that. So don't do that move on the same card with Mark Andrews. Let the poor kid have something. He's got the body of a 10-year-old boy. His female faction member's bigger than him and weighs more than him. Okay, just let him have the stun dog. Don't do the stun dog in this match. Come on.
Man, now I'm thinking about this one interview that Raven did where he said, I got 5 moves and one of them is to sit in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine if someone else sat in the corner. Well, imagine if Jake the Snake Roberts was on the card. Would Raven sit in the corner? You know, like, it's just, think about these things. This is one of those things that veterans say that I don't know if young people don't hear the veterans say it, or if they don't get it, or if it's just a coincidence. But
I think there really is like a dismissive disrespect where it's like, I don't care if these old people have to tell me. They're old and irrelevant, and who cares what they have to say? They don't know anything. This is a new time.
yeah, well, I understand that, but it's all they're saying is like, watch the matches, and then that way you won't repeat something else that somebody's already done on the thing. If you have a signature move and you just happen to be booked on the card with the guy that has that signature move, and you guys aren't working together and you're in separate matches, nobody will mind if you go for your separate move. But in a case like this, one of these is like basically this guy's damn near his finisher, and you've got a bunch of finishers. So don't do his finisher. That's all he's got. You know what I mean? Like,
all right. That's one of those situations where it's actually good to have a versatile and large move set where it's like, okay, well, this guy does this guy does that, this guy does this. So I don't have to do that. I'll just do these because I know how to do these.
Yeah, man. Dude, I used to watch the monitor, and whenever I saw somebody, usually we had things worked out in a general sense. And if I saw somebody, though, in one of the earlier matches do something that I was going to do, I just took it out. Like, I don't want people to see that twice. So you just watch the matches. That's all.
Yep. Or if you know you got like something that's going on in your program that's similar to something to another program in a match that's going on, get with those guys and say, hey, what are you guys doing? What's your finish? What spots are you putting in?
Yep.
And if they're like a more important match on the card, you're like, okay, we'll take that out and think of something else.
Yeah. It's just a thing. Eventually Ospreay wins with the Stormbreaker. And then he's got a big announcement for everybody afterwards. And that is that he has finally finished his kitchen. So I guess that's a reference to, him building a new kitchen in his house or something that I don't know anything about. But the crowd seemed to like it. And then he went on to give a speech about how he and many others were inspired by the letters TNA, and wherever he goes when his contract is up with New Japan, which I believe is February of next year. No, he's going to work one more Wrestle Kingdom before he goes. So it's February, his contract's up, and wherever he goes, he will be supporting TNA. And he hopes that, like he was a TNA kid, that he hopes that there's people in the crowd that night that will become TNA kids. So nice little speech for Will Ospreay there to end the show. And that is Turning Point.
And a nice little way of keeping it ambiguous of where he's going. So that's decent.
Yeah, and to talk about TNA some more, even though everything still says Impact Wrestling. But that's okay. We already announced it. We don't have to make any changes right away. We can just take our time with these changes. No reason to deliver on anything yet. That is the Impact way. So, well, there you go, guys. That was Turning Point. I don't know what point they were turning to. I mean, the idea being that it's going from Impact to TNA, but again, there was really no.
It was a 360 turn.
Yeah, 360 went right back around. So if we, maybe they just meant it's after this, like after this, after the turning point, then we get the turn. But this is just the point right now. We're not quite at the point where you go forward from the turn. We're just still here at the point. So, but yeah. But we're at the point of the show where we say goodbye and good night. So, thank you all for hanging out with us. Brandon, where can they hang out with you some more?
And you can find me at the usual places on Twitter or the X as the kids call it these days, at TransArcusTia. I am also going to be on Twitch a lot more at twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarcus. And you can also find me on Substack with all of my punching up impacts on Substack at HMG Brandon.
All right. Sounds good. You can find me on all the places at Opinion Haver. And you can find me on Hami Media Group on the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find me on the Wreckage on Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find me sometimes mentioned on the Wrestling with Rip Rogers show, which is every Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, or their concrete time. May not be on the show, but they'll probably mention me at some point, because concrete time is my catchphrase. And then you also have got Stevie Richards with his wrestling analysis channel, still putting out crazy content. He's putting out reviews on his fitness channel, reviewing this air bike. I don't remember the model number or anything like that. I'm not that crazy, but he's just doing stuff there. The Big Fitness Podcast, which has its own YouTube channel now. Just doing way too much. I can't even. I would like to, but I can't. I gotta watch Turning Point and stuff, and then Stevie Richards putting out a new analysis video, and I'm like, I gotta analysis this video. I don't have time to watch your analysis of a video. I'm falling behind in my Stevie Richardsness. But for anybody that has the time, it's there. It's definitely there. So give that a look. And I think that just about does it, if I haven't forgotten anything. So we'll just wrap it here. And for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign.